yes, he is, yes, he is. Clap your hands, all you people, and shout for joy. Listen, victory's in the room and it's waiting just for you. And if you want it, it is yours. Say, and I won't let the rocks cry out in my place. Yes, sir. I will lift my song of praise. Cause when he's in the room, nothing can stay the same. Right here, everybody say, when God shows up, my situation has to change it. When God shows up, all my fear starts to turn to faith. Hey, that was spoken, it's already done. I want you to jump in this building. Here we go. One, two. Let's go. When God shows up.
Brother Isaac, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
I'm great, man. It's good to be on with the legend himself,
Awesome.
man.
No, there's no legends here, bro. Just servants, man. That's it. So I really appreciate it, man. Thanks for reaching out, and I hope some clarity can happen from what you want to ask and whatever else. And man, you take it away. You tell me what where we're going with this for sure.
Yeah, man, for sure. So I want to welcome everybody to another episode of Jay's Music Talk. This is AJ Wilson, and with me, I have none other than a very special guest. This guy's worked with Draylin Young, a whole bunch of others out there. The one, the only Isaac Cowden. Great to have you on the show, man.
Awesome, man. It's good to be here, bro. Absolutely.
Of course, man. So let's take it back to the beginning. When did that love for music like start for you?
Ooh, you know what? It actually didn't start as a love, AJ. It was uh, kind of forced in my lap originally.
Mm,
I started playing drums and was interested in the drums, just an interest when I was about 4 years old. And so from there, my parents put me and my brother started putting us in music lessons. My brother, I'm sure you're familiar with Brandon.
Brandon
He
Cowden.
is, yeah, Brandon Cowden. He was back in the day, he was a prodigy, they would say, for his young age, because um, basically Brandon took on piano, and then within about 4 or 5 years, I mean, he was very proficient in all genres, and he was starting to be used as a 14-year-old
Mm,
in our district. We're originally out of Louisville, Kentucky, and so he was using our district as the main keys player for multiple events at a very young age, 15, 16 years old, all the way up until he was 18. And so uh, he kind of developed a love for it originally. I just had like an interest, but I really didn't care much. I wanted to do kind of other stuff. I was the younger brother, so I
mm,
wasn't as invested as he was. And so it wasn't until whenever he turned 18, he went off to college, and myself, I ended up having to become and take his place pretty much as the music director of our church. And so, to give a little backstory, my dad is a home missions pastor, and me and Brandon and my mom basically started a church from the ground up in New Albany, Indiana. And so we would drive back and forth from Louisville, Kentucky to New Albany every week, and or 2 or 3 times a week for services. We had like Monday night prayer, Tuesday night Bible study, Thursday night Bible study, and then Sunday morning and Sunday night church. And
mm.
so we did that on a week to week basis. And so basically, my love for music developed after, but my brother left when I was about 11 years old, and we basically took that time, and I was in lessons that entire time. I didn't get serious about it until he left, so that's kind of my journey starting into music, and the love for it came afterwards when I finally realized, okay, I actually enjoy playing some things here and there. I really enjoy, the aspects of this. And so some things started clicking for me more so
Mm.
when I was in high school, more middle school, high school than anything. Things started really clicking for me musically, versus just learning songs. I started learning theory behind music and going from there, So that's a little bit of that background on the love for it, starting off.
Of course, man. That's great, man. Same thing with me. I first started on drums first before I
Hmm.
yeah, and I didn't really take it serious until like I was
Hmm.
like 14, 15.
Yeah.
Um, I shifted from the drums that time and I developed love for the keys as well, 14,
Hmm.
15. And then ever since then, I started been using for my district as well.
Hmm.
I'm in New Jersey, so
Yes. Okay.
North Central Jersey. So been used for that district. We have our district camp this week actually.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've been
Busy
in so many
times, man.
rehearsals, man. And Frankie Taylor will be coming down in August along with the Doilies for a
Yeah.
fall conference, and I'm
That's
a part of
awesome.
that event. Yeah, man, it's just been a blessed and highly favored to be a
That's
part of it.
cool. That's cool, man. Love that. Love that.
So
Love that.
I want to talk about Draylin Young a little bit. I know I've seen you work with him, especially on that album. I want to know like what was your take on that?
Which album are you referring to? The newest one or the recent one he just posted?
Yeah,
Songs, hymns,
the
and spirit
newest one.
songs.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, no, so that album, man, just to give you a little backstory about Draylin and I have been friends for years. We ended up going to college together, at Indiana Bible College.
yes,
Spent a lot of time together playing music and whatnot. He's a super talented individual, as you know. And so whenever he came into the halls of IBC, he wasn't really known. He's a kid from Texas, and we just kind of, uh, we just developed a friendship, and there was a pocket of us that were musicians that, because we were doing so many things musically, we really didn't have the ability to have a lot of outside relationships,
mhm,
in terms of going and having friends here and there. We did have friends. It wasn't like we didn't have friends, but our time was really bogged down with music a whole lot just because of the level of stuff that we were involved in. If you're familiar with IBC, they do a lot of things all the time that is also encompassing with live recording and also tours and whatever else. And so, out 3 weeks out of the month, we're doing something, preparing for something, and then on top of that, we have rehearsals for chapels and things. Chapels two times a week. It was like Tuesday and Thursday. We have church on Wednesday, had church Sunday morning, Sunday night. It was so, all of those sets and all that. We mainly had each other to kind of lean on, and so that whole brotherhood and whatnot developed throughout all 4 years, and then kind of took on afterwards. And so, Draylon and I have, going apart. I was a part of his first recording and his second recording now, and both of them, man, the level of excellence that he tries to bring, the level of genuineness in his heart that he brings is very, very inspiring. And I love working with the guy, and him and his family. I love them to death. They're really great friends of mine. So working with him is like working with family.
mhm.
Working with brothers or whatever else. And so, it really has been fortunate that we've been blessed to live this life where we get to do things that we love with our friends. And so that's kind of what that recording and whatever ever is like. But that recording was really special, just in terms of just seeing him keep growing, and seeing his dreams kind of take place. So.
Yeah, man, for sure. I want to talk about your rig setup for that recording actually.
Hmm.
The psalms, hymns, and spirit songs for the album. I
Yes.
realized you were using the Motif ES with the
ESA.
I believe I don't know if it was a MIDI you had on the top.
When I did on top was a MIDI. I believe it was
Yeah, and then the
using a
side was a
Kai.
Phantom. Then yeah,
Yeah, the Phantom on the side. I'm trying to remember exactly. Oh man, it's been a while since I used that rig. I used some of the stuff that the church had, and then I brought some things of my own. So either
mm,
I used a MIDI or something on top, either M Audio 64. I can't remember. I do have a post of it somewhere where I tagged it, but I can't remember off the top of my head. But I do remember I do have the Phantom, and it's kind of half and half with analog sounds and with digital sounds. So I was using, a lot of things from my laptop, and pushing sounds, having MIDI controlled to certain sounds for either with the Phantom. I just used analog sounds on just the Phantom alone, just because it was way far over there, and all the things that I needed to do, from the top and bottom were, right at my fingertips. But the one thing that you have to know about a rig, and when you're building a rig for a service versus building a rig for recording is going to be two totally different approaches.
Mm-hmm.
Simply because you usually for a service, you're either going to get a mono or stereo out, and that's all you're going to have. When you're doing a recording, unfortunately, if you try to put all your textures, and this is just coming from the aux keys perspective, you're
Mm-hmm.
trying to put all your textures in one file, or one, basically, for one file for whoever the producer or engineer is, for them to take your sounds and chop them up. It's not going to be usable, or you're basically having them do a whole lot of legwork to put things in the proper order, as far as low sounds, high sounds, brass, or saw things, lead hooks, stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. All of that is all encumbersome in that, and so, usually, my for recording, a lot of that approach is totally different. You want to take, if you're doing recording, I would say minimum 6 to 8 channels, or 3 to 4 stereo channels. Honestly, I would do that 1,000%. Um, just because, uh, it allows you to do all the things you need to do, and then also gives the engineer the ability to say, okay, this channel is my low pads, low whatever. This is high pads. This is saw pads. This is lead hooks, and all of that. So you kind of split those up, and so it takes a lot of time, because honestly, good aux keys players, um, probably have the most legwork to do, because not only do they have to learn the material, but they also are sound designing for the
Mm-hmm.
material, right? And so sound design for that is huge, and you can't. Not all sounds work. Not all sounds work in a live setting than it would on a record setting. And so you sometimes have to just know, like, what sounds to do and what parts to play, because you're not always going to be playing all the time, and when you do play the part, it has to be something that really does enhance everyone else and what they're playing. You're not just playing constantly. And so, that's a little bit about how that setup works, and that mindset works for when you go into those different settings. When you're in live settings, that's the whole thing. Like, so for me, I try to create the approach for a live recording first, and then make my rig, so I can, if I can explain this simply. I don't know if I can, but basically, I have built a mothership in Ableton of all of the things that I would use. I actually can take analog inputs, I can take digital inputs, and then send those out via whatever my interface is. What I do is, within that, you set your interface out. Usually, you can have a 6 to 8 channel interface, right? Whatever you may use. I recommend something with high quality preamps, so that way you're not messing with anything. So if you're really recording, I mean, honestly, I would stay away from M Audio, stay away from
Mm-hmm.
Focusrite, stay away from those type of things. If you're recording, right? You need to get something. You have to pay some money for it, but this is a recording. We're trying to get great audio into where we're trying to go. And usually, some of these recordings now really depends on the audio engineer that you're working with. And so, some audio engineers, if you're doing a recording that's low budget, they're going to go through a board, and they're going to go through, whatever the soundboard is. They're going to try to take a computer plug in, and that's going to be it. The awful thing about that is that you're using, a $2,300, $3,300 soundboard to really capture the essence of everyone's sounds, and that's going to be really hard to do with a regular budgeted board, right? And that's more so, that board is more so for a live experience versus
Church setting. Hmm.
or yeah, it's like for a church setting versus the recording setting. So if you're running into that, for sure you want your preamps to be legit. And so there's a couple that you can get. Volt has a really great interface that you can do. I don't think they have a 8 channel interface. That's more like affordable. ZenQ has a incredible interface. I would go ZenQ. It is expensive though for like an 8 channel interface. It's like 11, $1,200, I think, for like an 8 channel interface. But when you spend that money in that, you're gonna get the return back, on the audio that you're sending out, because it's gonna be warmer, it's gonna be cleaner, it's gonna be nice. And so that's something that I would recommend in that case. Or you could also go with any of the Apollo series, and do it that way. And so the Apollos um, are great interfaces as well. But you just want to get something that has good preamps. So that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, man. What is your go-to keys rig setup like all time that you love using?
I'm not necessarily on boards anymore. Boards are changing here. I mean, honestly, probably, you know, the one that can give me a lot of versatility would probably be Montage. Just me getting the
Mm,
Montage and being able to do a whole lot. Just because my setup now is more so my dream rig, I guess you could say, is, you know, I would have. I would be able to probably do all things. My dream rig would probably be having a very, 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 as my very, very powerful computer is probably going to trump 9 times out of 10 what I can find on a board and like tweak on a board and whatnot. But my dream rig set would be having probably the Montage, running analog sounds out of that, probably running. I would love to have a Roland. Um, I'm a sucker for a Phantom. That's what I kind of cut my teeth on originally. But if I was sticking with, usually guys in the industry don't mix boards. I'm not in the industry, so I mix boards. So I'll go and take, I will take a Montage. I would probably run MIDI, probably two MIDI boards. I would say two MIDI boards, and then maybe some candy stuff with like a Phantom if I wanted to. It would be, whatever that choice would be. But my computer would be the main thing. So my dream rig, I have four of like every sound, four arpeggiated plucks, four low pad synths, four high pad synths, four lead hooks.
mm,
I would have four of those. Now that's in like a dream rig for running uh, just a service setting. If I'm doing a live recording, then I'm sound designing sounds for that live recording and doing it that way. And
okay.
so that's kind of where I would place myself there. And that's I would try to make all of those work, and though all four of those would be different. They'll all be like four different low settings or whatever. And then for me, I would do like the arpeggiators and whatnot, and like little candy things, and like high synths that I would do. I would do those, like all different as well. And so, but those are all what we're talking about for a 16. Those are 16 different sounds that I would run just from the laptop. Those are all choices that you can do for certain parts of a song. And you may play that part maybe 3 times in a song, maybe, don't know. But yeah, it matters on how that kind of translates, for sure.
Yeah, yeah, brother, for sure. I'm not sure if you have a favorite song you enjoy doing from that record, though, the Draylin Young record. But if you to choose like one or two of them, what would it be? Like the recent one.
The one that has been released, out of that record, I think because of the atmosphere in the moment, and because the way the room was, um Jesus was a very powerful uh man when just to be in the room that day Jesus was it transcended like anything that we could have thought, you know. And we came up or the producer, his name's Matt Edwards. He came up with that he shall reign forever and ever. He
Mm-hmm.
came up with that like maybe 2 days before, maybe a day
Mm-hmm.
before. I think it was maybe on Thursday that we tried it out. And when we hit that in rehearsal on Thursday, basically like he came up with that. We it was yeah, it was like a Wednesday night. I think I remember that. It was like a Wednesday night, and
Mm-hmm.
um he came up with that line. He was downstairs because they were having service or something upstairs, and so he came up with that line while he was downstairs in the fellowship hall. And when we came up for rehearsal, we went to run through that song, and bro, when we ran through that, bro, I mean the plate, like we everybody on the team started breaking in tears. I mean it was really incredible. And so that moment will be special in my heart, just because just to see something that you guys worked on and seeing how it kind of took place, man, that's there's nothing more powerful than that, to see something that you work on, that you feel like that God gave you, and for it to come to fruition like that. That was one. Another song that we had, I had fun on. Wow. Let's see here. I mean, Nobody is a blast,
That was
right? I mean,
fun.
it's a blast of a song to come up with. A lot of moving parts in that. I remember how much we practiced that song, trying to learn that song,
Mm-hmm.
because it is a difficult song when you haven't done it before, and so we learned it that week, and it was like, wow, like this song is sick, So I think we had a lot of fun on that song. I would say there'll be like two songs that I personally I really loved. But man, there's a ton from that record that are just like really good. Um, man, yeah, but those two, I'll leave it at those two for now, for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. I also know you did work with Mark Crowder as well. I
Yeah,
know you
yeah.
I think Faith Over Fear. Yeah, that was out.
Yes, the Faith Over Fear record. Yeah, that was awesome, man. Working with the producer Kirk Canhigh
Mm-hmm.
was awesome. I mean, and the band in that, we man, there was a special part in that song, or in that whole record, and we kind of talk about that just because of how organic it was. Also, the fact that it was during COVID, and so like January 2021, that was one of the everything had gotten shut down basically for the year 2020. And so
Mm-hmm.
going into 2021, everyone was very skeptical originally about like, okay, we're doing a recording, and Mark felt very strongly to do it, and I'm glad he did, but we didn't really know what the turnout was going to be. I think because we didn't know what the turnout was going to be, the church only put out like 75% of their capacity or something that they could house, and so when they put those chairs out, they were like, well, hopefully people will come. And bro, like everybody came. And so that it
Mm-hmm.
was, if you get any crowd shots from that recording and look at the live recording, like just look at the crowd shots, there is not room for people to stand. Like the only room there was, and they packed it up all the way seats until they just created a little bit of an aisleway for the front altar space. But bro, there wasn't hardly any, there was no seating in there. Like it was packed wall to wall. People were bringing out seats. And so it ended up being a really awesome event, just to kind of put a stamp on it, that people were ready to kind of get out of their homes and come back, and it's so weird to think that that was, almost 5 years ago, or yeah, 5 years ago, COVID was. And so it's just like, wow, like, but yeah, I mean, that was a great experience. Working with Mark and the team, and Colton Duty, Brett, Matt Ewing, Gideon. Oh my
Mm-hmm.
goodness.
Yeah, Sapa.
Kurt.
Another
Yeah,
great arts
man.
player, man.
Yeah, yeah. Gideon is a savant, man. Like I look at Gideon as like a Ferrari of aux keys players and just
Mhm.
in our movement, just because of the attention to detail that he places. Not to mention he's an incredible human being, and all those guys are incredible. So it's really fun to kind of see some of those things kind of take place. And Gideon and I think for Draylin's first recording, we did double aux, like both of us were playing aux.
Mhm.
And that was really cool to kind of see us do that. We were picking our places and what we were doing, and it was really nice. So I love and always have enjoyed playing with Gid. And that's another part of the brotherhood that's my guy. I love him to death. So for sure. Yeah, that recording was very special just because of the time and moments.
For sure. What would you say like your journey in music has been since over the years?
Man, it's changed. It's changed from loving just doing the music to loving loving the result that the music brings. If that makes sense.
Hmm.
Like I love even more outside of just like, oh, this is really a cool line or this is like a sick song. I love the results that it brings. I love um whenever you're playing in a band or whenever you're doing music live, when people are in the altar and the Lord is using you as a tool in that moment, and that's very special to me. And I think I've really kind of sunk into that, even more so now where it's like, okay, this is more than just being a musician. This is like worship, and this is how I worship. And the Lord is basically allowing me to be a conduit for that, which means your heart has to be right. And so I think that above just doing the music, I've loved my musical journey so far, and I've just kind of seen as I've grown older, that perspective kind of shift, and I care more about what it brings to the listener and whoever is in the audience. I really care about that a lot, and that it touches heaven. That's really the ultimate thing. Can your music that you do help someone touch heaven? That's it. No matter if it's just you playing or whether somebody's singing and you're playing behind them, all that goes into you being an excellent musician because you don't want to be a distracting musician by doing too much or by messing up and not doing enough, right? And so all of those things would put the eyeball on you, and that's not what we want, and that's not the goal. And the goal is not to showcase your musicianship, and now in the secular world or in the maybe in the industry, that is the thing, you can be the band that can do that or whatever else. But yeah, I just don't, that's just not an approach I would carry anymore.
Mhm.
So yeah, yeah.
Yeah, man, for sure. I truly get what you're saying, man. There's lots of musicians out there, man. They just, I don't know, they just do it for the fame. You know what I'm saying? Like they
I
feel like they
understand,
just
yeah.
do music to make a name for themselves. But same thing like you, I don't grow like that. Like when I
Yeah,
do music, I do what I love, and in the end, it's all for God, bro.
yeah,
Like
it is.
that's why sometimes
It
when
really
people
is.
praise me for like what I do, I'm like, nah, man, it's all glory to God, man. It's like
Yeah.
God gave you the gift, and He gave it to you to use it to execute what He gave you to do. You know what I'm saying?
hmm And if your music can inspire somebody, not necessarily to be like you or to do like oh, I want to be AJ Wilson or I want to be Isaac Cowden or I want to be whoever in that blank, but it can inspire someone to do what you do. And if what you're doing is being a catalyst for worship, like that is one of the greatest things that you can accomplish. Truthfully, that is one of the greatest things you can accomplish. And so, if you can be the catalyst for it, if you can be the one that inspires somebody to be great for God, without it being, oh, I'm trying to be, as dope as X, Y, and Z. No, like if your music and the way that you play and whatever can inspire someone to be great in that realm, you really have made it as far as being a kingdom musician. and being kingdom oriented, right? That's what we're all here to do, is grow in the kingdom. And so I think that that's very, very important, for us to be able to kind of grasp a hold of, is that if we can lead other people to drink from the well of saying, hey, I want to be a musician that can touch heaven, that can get the same results, that can, you know, I want, like, that's what I would hope someone is inspired to do, truthfully, you know.
Yeah, man. Last question before I let you go, man. If you were if you were to give any advice to any upcoming musician, about how to go about their approach in music, what would advice you would give to them?
First things first, details matter. The smallest of details matter. And so if you don't become a detective on like every small detail of the music. And what I mean by that is, can you listen to a song and tell me everything that's going on? I'm like every part that's going on in the song.
Hmm.
Can you tell me what's going on? There's that. I think that helps you because you have to understand the background, the backbones, and whatever behind the song. Two, I think that you have to be approachable as an individual because if you for instance, we take the industry mindset, the moment that you get a little bit of fame and you become unapproachable, that's the moment that you lose in terms of being Christ-like, right?
Very true.
Now you may not lose in the industry, like they may treat you like Hollywood or whatever else. However, being a kingdom musician is what I'm interested in creating for people, So being approachable is huge. That doesn't necessarily mean that people have access always to you. That just means that you don't have a shroud of pride just around you and saying that certain people can't talk to me, and that's not the
Mhm.
case. So there's that. Um, I think someone who has very close ties to people who can tell you what you need to do, even though it's not necessarily what you think you should do, but people who have your best interests at hand, whether that be your pastor, for sure your pastor, but also some key people in your life that can like let you know, hey man, like I'm seeing this in you, that can just talk to you about the flaws that they see in your life. I think that's very important for people. Because people who don't know what they're doing wrong or what they could do better, they're just living off of their own understanding, and the Bible specifically tells us not to lean on unto our own understanding.
Mhm.
And so I think that that's a big portion of people's downfall is that they get enamored with the sound of their own voice and their ideas just become what they think and their preferences are that, and it's not. I don't think it's the case in the kingdom of God where it definitely requires collaboration. In order for us to really grow the kingdom, there are key pieces that I need and that they need, whoever in the kingdom is, that it's going to take our preference not being a part of it. It's going to take us being in one mind about, hey, we can let this go. So I think for those three things, those are huge. Obviously, the practicing thing is that, but in order to be a great musician, you have to have a love for it. So the love is what's going to drive those late night practices. The love is what's going to take you out of that sense of duty of like I have to do this, because service is coming up or whatever, and I'm doing this because I want to learn about music more, and like that's where shedding and stuff comes in. So the love really matters in that. The love really matters in that for sure. And then obviously relationship with God. So, but that's kind of obvious. Yeah,
Yeah, man. Just
trying
want
not to say things that like, oh. Yeah, these are generic things, but yeah, these are things that I just have tried to think of in being a good musician. Yeah.
yeah,
So,
man. Just want to thank you so much for joining me. It's an honor to have you,
yeah,
brother. Yeah,
absolutely.
hopefully we cross paths one day, man.
Yeah, absolutely, man. We'll definitely. I'm hoping we can. I'm not sure when, but I don't come to New Jersey often, so. Uh, but um, but hopefully one day we can make it happen. And well, it's a pleasure to meet you, man, for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, man, for sure, man.
Yep.
This is another episode of Jay's Music Talk signing out with the Isaac Cowden. Thank you so much, brother. We'll talk.
Man. Absolutely, brother. Take care.
Yeah, we're regular, yeah. 7. Instrumental.